Okay, class, here we are. We're into week 4. After this week, a quarter of the whole semester will be done. So we've got to put our nose to the grindstone. I've got some things for you to do. They're not just things to do. And I hope that you just don't think I'm giving you a bunch of busy work. In the classroom, which I know that you're not a part of that, but you are a part of our community, and I feed off of you and I give examples anonymously, in my classes of what's going on the online version of this, and I learn more from your questions and that sort of thing. So I would say, hey, listen, reach out to me if there's any questions, especially about this class or about what your schoolwork, what it's looking like, what it's feeling like. Give me a call. I can usually help somebody. I can maybe put you in a different frame of mind. I can lift your spirits a little bit, maybe, and that sort of thing. We're in this thing together. This is a 4-hour class. In the classroom, this is what it looks like. I've got 3 hours worth of lecture and discussion in the classroom, and then we have a 2-hour lab period. So don't think that you're having to do more when I ask you to do a few things. And I thought this check-in video, I would use it to actually just go through the list of things. And I'm kind of a checklist person. If you're not, hang in there with us. You may learn some things in that realm that will help you become a better manager and a better leader. And that's what we're all about in this particular class. Farm and Ranch Management should be actually titled Farm and Ranch Management Leadership. And I want you to become or think about how you could potentially be a better leader throughout some of these processes that we're including. So, got a big week, and let's get started here. So, we're going to introduce you, and many of you have already probably know who this personality is, but the curriculum that I asked you to purchase is the Dave Ramsey Personal Finance coursework for the college. And we're just going to use several sections of that. I've just had you purchase the little thin booklet and the access to some of the videos that he's put together for this particular units of savings and budgeting and debt, because they're crucial. And I just want to set this up a little bit as far as why we're going to go into this. And it's explained in the syllabus, but I know exactly how many of you read those things. There might have been 2. If you're one of those, kudos to you. But anyway, I'm using the personal finance that we find in his curriculum, and many others for that matter, in order to build a portal so that we can actually talk about financial statements and that sort of thing. I found out long ago that if you don't have any skin in the game and you start talking about income statements, cash flows, budgeting, and financial statements of any kind, that people just, their eyes glaze over and their eyes roll back in their head and all those kinds of things. And it just doesn't work, at least for the majority of you. So anyway, I hope you find this interesting. If you've already been through it, I have never met anybody. In fact, my wife and I are going through the process again personally, just to get it back, or get us back on it, because it is so powerful. The information in there, although it seems very simple, actually applying it to your life is one of the hardest things most people have, not only in their businesses but also in their personal lives. And the one thing that I will tell you, that if you want to be a manager, if you want to be a leader, then if you want to have control over the finances of your own business or somebody else's business, then you don't have a pot to pee in if you don't have your own personal finances put together. You just lack credibility. And excuse the French, but that's just the way it is. And this will give you some skin in the game and something to work on. Everybody can get at least, if not a lot better, can get a little better at all of that. Okay, so here we are. I'm just going to kind of go through some of the long list that we have here. You're going to have to get started early in the week. And to whom knows, much is given, much is required, is the one thing that I keep reminding myself throughout my life and my process through this coursework. And if you're in my classroom, that's one that may get, I don't think it can be overused, but maybe some of my students might think so. Anyway, so I want you to go in and start listening to those podcasts on savings if you haven't already. Hopefully you've already opened it up. It's no big deal. You've got your password set up, and it's just a smooth sailing. If there's any problems with that sort of thing, I need you to contact me early so that maybe I can help you through that process if it hasn't been set up. We've had a good 3 weeks to get that material, and I'm confident that you already have it in your hands. So I want you to start listening to the foundations right here, the video series, the first one on savings. I think you'll find they're short videos. You can take a blast at a time here and there. Share them with everybody you know. There isn't a person on the planet that can't do their personal finance a little bit better. And he's got some great things, a great team put together. They have some really good material or I wouldn't be using them. Okay? So chapter 1, that's what we're going to be squaring off with this week. And so the things that I need you to turn in, I want you to answer the forum with a video preferred. Okay, so I can't tell what the technology looks on your side. There were a few people when I asked to do their introductions with a video, they couldn't do it. And I'm just going to say, okay, I won't fight that. That's my preferred method. If you want to do a video or if you want to do an audio, you can do it right in the forum. There's an icon right at the top, the ribbon at the top of that you can click on. If that's not available to you, I don't want you to say, well, I can't do it, okay? I've got a whole bunch of feedback that I want from you this week, and a 2-minute video is just not that painful. If you can figure out a way to get it to me in a different form rather than directly in that forum, do that. If you can type out a bulleted answer to what I've asked in the forum, do that at the last resort, okay? And I want that earlier in the week or at midweek so that the other students can take a look at it. We can learn as a community and as a group. That is such a powerful, powerful tool in all of this. And some of you are in isolated pockets. Some are on campus. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you have direct access. Come on up and we'll talk about it. Okay? Come in. My class is at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We hold lab at 6 o'clock on Tuesday nights. Those kinds of things, those are available to you. Now, if you're out in the outreaches of rural America, then I'm just a phone call away if you have any questions on any of this kind of stuff, okay? And that's my preferred method, by the way. An email is fine. I will answer them, and they're easy as long as you don't ask me questions like, I don't understand. Like, what don't you understand? I don't get a lot of those, but every once in a while, and those kinds of things trigger me a little bit. Just kidding. Okay, any questions are fair game, and I'll do my best. Okay, so we want you to do that. I also want to do some fine tuning within the lab portion of this coursework. And I want to introduce you to some outside sources. Michael Hyatt is nobody that I know, but I've read several books of his, and I do listen to him on a periodic way, because he's just got a different way of thinking about doing business. And this week, I just want you to listen to the first 15 minutes of an audio podcast on meetings. Now, if you get to be 60 like me, and I'm kind of an autonomous teacher, by that I mean that I want to do them the way I want to do them, not the way somebody else does it. But I can always glean and learn something from somebody else. And you know, I have had some feedback in the past about posting things like this. He's a corporate guy. He does, I mean, he'll have gatherings of Fortune 500 companies and go talk to them and show them a different way, a better way of a specific contents, like having meetings, doing them more effectively, and that sort of thing. But from your standpoint, I want you to look at it and listen to it and maybe re-listen to it and say, ask yourself some questions like hopefully you find him interesting. And then secondly, ask that question is, how can I make this happen? In my classes, I talk about, well, I mean, having a meeting. Sometimes just saying the word meeting, people go, oh, not another meeting. How can I do it different? Am I just disseminating information? Maybe I can just email them. Maybe I can just hand them out a flyer. Right? Just use your brain on all this kind of stuff. But, I mean, work does not happen without people getting together. And we call them meetings. You can call them a huddle. We used to do that every morning before we started our work. Is a huddle, get organized, and the leader would go through the things that he or she wanted to get done for that day, give them a little overview on what was happening for the week or for the month, and that sort of thing. Hold people accountable, which I think you'll find interesting within the context of the podcast, and that sort of thing. How can you do meetings better? How can you communicate with your team? And I know, I mean, maybe you've never been in that role. Most of us actually have, and if we really think about it, but from your side of the fence, okay, let's put you in charge for the next little bit. You get to run the meeting. That's a lot of responsibility. You're taking other people's time and using it. Are you using it effectively? Are you actually very efficient with how you're running things? And one of the things that I just love about this particular podcast, he says, oh, you know, set a deadline, just like we talked about in our missions and our goals and that sort of thing. If you set a time frame, it's a 15-minute meeting and you're done in 10, what are you going to do? You're going to leave. You're going to go to work. You're going to disperse. You're going to start being productive and efficient and those kinds of things. So you're allowed. And you need to discuss that with your team. Hey, listen, if we're done with the meeting, adjourn, period, end of story, go forth and be fruitful, okay? So anyway, meetings, I think you'll find that interesting. If you've ever been involved in meetings, and if you're a human being on this planet in our country or one like it, you've definitely been involved in meetings, good, bad, and indifferent. And so anyway, the next part is I wanted you to go through the worksheet I have set up for goal setting. And there's a short video again. I've given you lots of blasts this week explaining what I would like on that. Mission-based goals. And we've been taught, especially in ag, if you're not part of that sector, is that you've got to be goal-centered and all this kind of stuff. And we kind of get it wrong. And at least you can tell me if I'm wrong. But your goals are stuff that is reachable, that's attainable, that are very specific, and they're time sensitive, and those kinds of things. And they point directly at your mission. Your mission is a statement, your personal mission, a statement of who you are and where you're headed. That's what that is, okay? I mean, if your goals do not actually point at your mission, then should you be doing your goal? This is a personal question. If you're striving for something, and this is your goal, and it doesn't even affect your mission, really? Ask that question. Powerful, powerful question. Okay? I've got a savings quiz that's due on Friday. It's 40 or 50 questions. A lot of them are repetitive. Okay? There's a method to all of that, but anyway, just to see if you've watched the videos, if anything has impacted you and that sort of thing. Savings are so important within the personal finance, in of being yourself and living with what I like to call living with margin. And if you don't have any savings, then you can't do a lot of things. There's not a lot of wiggle room. But when you have margin and / savings, there's options. There's options. All kinds of options. And right now, I know everybody says, well, you're young. Most of you are really young. And you've got lots of options. But if you don't have any savings, then your options are somewhat limited. And I know, I've said this before, I say it in my class, you're just a bunch of broke college students. I mean, I love you and all that kind of stuff, but that's just the hard, cold facts. But how do you get to a place where you have some margin? Okay, through savings. At least that's a major portion of it. And living with margin in other parts of your life, you can live it with your finances, but you can take that and say, I have more personal time, margin. I have more peace, margin, and those kinds of things. So anyway, there's a deeper learning curve to this whole thing. And some of you will pick up on it and some might not. And just hang in there with me. And give me a call if you have any questions on any of this stuff. Okay? So, way too long. I apologize for that. Your time is very, very valuable to me. So, over and out. I'm going to hit the pause button.